Hello, people of Raid Shadow Legends. My name is Vladimir, and today I want to take opportunity to tell you how much you hurt my feelings by trampling on them with hey your YouTube's videos. Content creators for a long time make fun of Vladdy's suggestions for armor. But let me walk you through how this works. Let us take a champion from the index. Let's go and talk about Santa Claus. I mean, Sir Nicholas. Sir Nicholas lives close to the pole in northern Russia. This is known. There's reindeer there, and that's where he plays with the reindeer. Look how cold it is. His sword is blue, it's so cold. So Vladdy thinks to himself, must make warmer Santa, right? So he gives Santa life gear. Life gear make very warm Santa Claus. Warm Santa Claus makes very happy Santa Claus. Very happy Santa Claus brings presents for boys and girls on or about the 25th of December, depending on your faith. So Vladdy's not understanding why there's so much anger over the different items that I suggest for all of you to have good fun times. Do you want Sir Nicholas to be cold? No. Do you want him to be happy? Yes. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today we are starting a brand new series called Couples. It is essentially a look into the combinations and duos within Raid Shadow Legends that unlock secret abilities. There are certain champions that when paired with other champions in dungeons or an arena that unlock either passives or actives that allow them to do more and great glorious things. Some of them are executed flawlessly with amazing results. Others are kind of lackluster. What we plan to do on this channel, as we do with everything, is explore all the different possible combinations I have and am able to share with you. Today, I want to start with the most famous of couples. They are the original Valentine sweethearts. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the first couple, Venus and Cupidus. Before we talk about their abilities, it's important to kind of look at the gear I'm using on them. Venus is a lifesteal gear because I do use her in the clan boss when I'm testing out champions for I built them so you don't have to. This allows me to put her in a counter attack type build without having to worry about swapping a whole bunch of gear in and out. Typically, I only have to do the gauntlets and or the boots to get the speeds I need, to get the abilities I need, whether I need her to be more defensive or more attack based. I can do all that scenario with very few changes, so I really like having her like this. And at default, this is really good for dungeons with that 253 speed and 274 accuracy. Faction War is not a problem. Keep the same gear. It's very versatile. As far as her masteries, because I use her in the clan boss, I run this setup. The offensive tree is primarily about getting War Master for the extra damage, and of course, just running through different damage trees. On the support side, you could argue defense, but the reason why I like support is these two abilities here, which gives me that chance to extend any debuff and the chance to land. Her A1 with the poisons is not 100%, so getting that extra 5% over an extended period of time, like a clan boss, is actually fairly useful. There are many different ways. For example, if I was using her primarily in the arena, you could argue either going with Lore of Steel and then down to Eagle Eye, or you could even go support and defense and use something like Bulwark to mitigate some of the damage that the whole team's taking, because she has tons of HP and you can build her out to be a HP crazy champion. So there are many different options, and I would say there is not one single right option for her. You could run offense and defense, you could run defense support or support offense. Any three of those would definitely, or any combination of those would work very well for her. That's part of what makes Venus so amazing to get in any level of the game at any point in the game. As for our Cupidus, it's a little more straightforward. There's kind of two builds with him. The one build, how I have him, I actually used him in the clan boss for a very long time. I was trying out different things like increases damage. This is more for an arena thing. When I was using him with Tormund. So we were trying a lot of different things. But again, the key is this. And of course, War Master is for anyone that you're taking into the clan boss. Also pretty good for dungeons, but that's mainly a clan boss thing. And he actually worked really well in an unkillable comp, by the way. I used him for quite some time. And again, because he has the debuffs and I wanted that extra accuracy and the extension and the chance to land, I don't have any books in Cupidus, don't plan to book them. So, and one could argue his A3 shouldn't book. We'll talk about that in a minute. As far as his gear, we have him in Savage gear, and we're running him at about 243 crit damage. 3,900 attack is a little low, but the Savage gear makes up for that pretty well. And we actually change out his gear a little bit in the arena to make him a harder hitter. But the debuff accuracy at 263 to make sure he can land those HP burns. And other than that, that's just 187 speed, perfectly fine to go last in most scenarios where you're running him through dungeons. Okay. Now let's talk about the skills. So his skill's pretty straightforward. It's when Venus is on the team, attacks inflict 25% more damage to targets under debuffs. So this has a double synergy. First of all, Venus is a debuffer. So by nature, she's debuffing the team with her AoE weaken and defense down, and then he's going to hit harder because they now have an AoE weaken defense down. Plus, he's going to hit 25% harder because of the passive when they're on the same team. Also, keep note that Heartbreaker has an extra 15% on that, which is his AoE skill and is absolutely amazing. And unfortunately, the AI does not prioritize, even though in the arena, you're going to want to manual this because you're going to want to use Heartbreaker. We'll show that in action shortly. And it's as straightforward as it gets, right? You're all about this extra damage. This is all good if you need a single enemy attack because of the increased attack. And then anytime you're running up in waves against 4 people, that sort of thing, his A1 is where you want it to be, where you want to use it. Venus, it's a little more about the ability and less about the synergy. The synergy is okay because it removes all buffs from all enemies and has a 50% chance of granting an extra turn. So Cupidus, this will help Cupidus in that if you remove buffs, then you're removing the defense ups, you're removing all these other kind of abilities that get in his way, you're removing unkillables and block damage, those sort of things. So that's good, but this is what's really going to help him more. So unfortunately, you can't use both because there's only a 50% chance. So it may happen, but you can't really plan for it. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword in that respect, but I do feel it is still something that you can use. And again, we'll talk about that mainly in the arena. This is really good for faction wars. Both 20 and 21 have buffs that are annoying. There's a Blind Seer in there. There's a Man-Eater in 21. There's a Paragon in this wave 2 of 20. So there's a lot of things that she can then buff strip, which just makes this runs that much quicker. We'll have some footage of my faction wars because it just happened to be open today. So those are the abilities. Now, how are they going to actually work? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take them into the Ice Golem dungeon because I want to show you the damage ramp up that Cupidus gets. Then we'll show you kind of Venus's thing. We'll talk about it though. I will tell you straight ahead, AI is dumb. So it is something that you'd have to build a team around knowing that AI is dumb. We'll talk about that briefly when we get to the Ice Golem. So here is my standard Ice Golem team. This is why I wanted to bring it into here for the testing because I already use a team with them both on it in this particular case. You see the team. But what we're going to do is we're going to take Venus out and we're going to run a couple tests without her so we can see what the damage is. And then we're going to run the same test with her so you get a good idea of that 25% damage. I've done this quite a bit. And there is, obviously, with crit damage, there's a variance. And the variance can be somewhat substantial. We don't have any abilities on him that should make it that varying, but nonetheless, we're going to use his A3 here on the same champ every time. So 48, 887. Okay, now we're going to debuff the champions, but we're not going to use a defense down weaken. So This should not change a thing, but we want to make sure just so we have a baseline. There'll be variants, obviously 49, 846, that's well within. Let's play it a third time, and this time we're going to use the defense down weaken from Draco. See, there's a reason why Draco's on the team. So just burn a turn, burn a turn. It's your turn to shine, Draco. Defense down and weaken. And then we're going to use the same ability on the same champion one more time. And this time we get 108, 118. Now we're going to edit. We're going to put in Venus and we're going to do the same 3 tests. The first one should show no difference. And then the second and third one should be, he should be hitting for about 25% more. Keeping in mind that there is a variance for crit damage. So first test, burn everyone turn. And then A3 here. And this should be within the same kind of ballpark. 48,000. 46. So there's a much lower hit, but that's fine. 46,011. This time we're going to use our debuff that's not a defense down weaken. There we go. So she has a debuff on her. And this should do 25% more damage. 63,505, yes. And we're going to check that defense down. This is the max damage. So this is bringing in, and keep in mind that A1 would have been even more because the 15%. But we wanted to kind of keep it simplistic by using his A3 each time. So now here's the full debuff. We got that defense down, that weaken. I mean, I could technically hit his too, but that's not what we're trying to do here. Oh, that's so close to kill her. So now let's do the last one, and this should be a considerable 230. Yeah, there, or 130. I mean, 130, and I missed the rest of it, so we'll call it 130 because I was paying attention. In the interest of time, we're gonna speed this up, and basically what I'm saying is, look, we're gonna get to that second round now. That second round, we're gonna see where Venus can be potentially useful in this dungeon. There's not a lot of dungeons that offer buffs that we have to strip. Faction Wars has a lot, which we will see. But right there, you see she used it because her AI thinks, I'm going to use my A2. And then, if this is unlocked, I'm going to use my A4. It doesn't actually check if there's any buffs on the enemy, which is unfortunate because that round is the only place where it would be useful. The way that Venus would be 100% useful in that scenario is if instead of bringing Draco in, if we brought in Kymar. So think that she debuffs the first round, Kymar resets, but we kill the first wave. Then she debuffs the second round, we play it through. If the second round doesn't die immediately, then she can strip that reflect damage, which wreaks havoc on champions like Draco, like Cupidus, and then we get to the boss. As you can see here, the main champions of this, it's going to be Champfort and Venus. I noticed that Mushelite also stays alive, but it's those two that really, they could solo this thing here at this point. And then there you go, success. So it's a pretty easy team. It's usually about a minute and a half when not paused and everything. So overall, pretty good example. So here is my free-to-play Sacred Order, and you know what they say, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Sacred Order was open today. I didn't plan for it to be. I was going to use prior footage, but we'll just record it again. It's a little bit easier for me to do this all in one night. So we're gonna show the two in action. This is absolutely what I use. Once again, in the interest of time of this total video, we're going to talk over it. So the biggest thing about Faction Wars and what makes this pairing so special is that all the fights are very sustained. And when you have sustained fights with champions that have buffs, that ability for him to do extra damage and her to strip buffs, and you're going to see it on this round here especially, you see buffs go up and buffs go down, right? And it was funny, she actually resisted there. And that's the first time I can remember that happening on this particular round. But overall, it's just going to be an easier fight. It's not that it's going to be, it's a game changer for me, with my team, but for many teams it could be. Norog is a deadly champion to fight against. And then the clan boss, I don't believe has any debuffs on this particular one, so not really a big deal. But in Faction Wars 20, you do have to go up against a Paragon. You also have to go up against a Blind Seer. So those being able to strip those buffs just makes this whole thing a lot quicker, a lot smoother, easy 5-star, and yeah, definitely with my team, obviously not so much an issue. But I have run this team with a fully grouped Phoenix, Mistress of Hymns, and I believe it was Talia. No, it was Hope that I used, and along with Cupidus and Venus, and it was a little more harrowing, but it still made it through on 20. So she's going to do work, and I think that's the important thing. And it's overall probably a really good place to showcase the fact that the two of them synergize very well when paired together as a couple. Faction Wars, absolutely the best place to showcase that. So this is a standard speed build, farm build, whatever you want to call it for Gold 4. It relies on me being faster, having a debuffer, and nuking really hard. In this case, I'm faster, so that's good. We're going to have Lysandra, and this works perfectly fine. This is going to work for you as well as anything. And I'm actually shocked Miscreated Monster. Nobody or very few people use him in the arena. You'd normally expect him to be wearing a shield set. If you are, I would recommend, if you have to use Miscreated Monster, see if you can get him in a shield set. They didn't, so it's pretty easy that I'm not going to buff strip here. I'm just going to debuff. But if I did have to buff strip, I would probably lose because they have a Trunda and they have a Musclehead, and that's going to absolutely devastate my team. I can't survive that hit the way it is. And that's the problem with their ability only being 50%. So as we continue, you're going to see here, I'm going to just choose to buff strip, or I'm going to choose to debuff. He's going to nuke, and it's going to be a pretty good fight. Eventually. Someday. See? I knew it. So there's the strip. No weaken on Trunda. Shouldn't be a problem as long as I don't weak hit. There you go. Pretty good hit. Cupidus hits hard. Like he knocked down Miscreated Monster has pretty good HP. Wasn't able to quite finish him off. But, you know, if you have him as a nuker and you don't have Trunda, you don't have Ethos, he is a good AoE nuker in that respect. Keeping in mind that he is his affinity does get you into troubles. So in this final arena scenario, and unfortunately I lost the footage where I showed the product, what I would put them in, I essentially switched over my Venus to my Madame Ceres gear, which allows her now to be in a slow comp and make decisions. And the slow comp with the Manaya and Coronor, preview of another couple, who I can use in slow comp. I use it as part of my arena defense. And you can see there is it worked really well. They were able to survive that first hit and then go on the attack. And what's more is now it becomes better that she has both abilities and they don't necessarily have to be coupled together. So, you know, the only thing I will say with this is that I wish you could use them both at the same time, because she's just not as powerful as Madame Ceres is in the exact same comp. That said, still a win. Was still able to do it in a go second scenario with a team that looks like it's a pretty well built team. Just wasn't able to break through some pretty big shields from Manaya and Coronor's and Manaya's partnership, and then Venus and Cupidus on the offense did what they do best, right? Debuff and nuke. Time for my final thoughts. This couple, the first one that I'm exploring in their duality, is a power couple. What they can do in dungeons, and especially what they can do, I almost said especially. I apologize, J-Gigs. It'll never happen again. If you don't know what that means, please go visit my good friend and colleague, J-Gigs, who is a raid extraordinaire, a streamer, and a rapper. And if you after you watch a couple of his videos, specifically one by DJ RNG, you'll understand exactly what that reference means. Plug. Especially in Faction Wars, where there are buffs that have to be stripped on the enemy. That is part of what makes these runs way faster. And
I can't even imagine. I mean, I have 2 Sir Nicks and a Rosh card, but if I was still running like a Mistress of Hymns and a Phoenix and a Talia and really kind of pushing through with champions that are very kind of squishy, you want to just do as much damage as possible and move on. And that's where that buff strip comes in absolutely integral. It's being able to run through that quicker. So yeah, I think Faction Wars double S tier together. I think that's a unique. Anytime you can unlock an ability that only a handful of champions in this entire game have, that is powerful. And for Cupidus' standpoint, he's merely a good champion. He hits hard. He's got a neat kit, but those aren't things that doesn't inspire me to pull 2 times, 10-time event for Cupidus. That's not a thing. But together, that extra damage kind of puts him over the top. But without being even the slightest bit overpowered, he still can hit weak affinity against the most populous affinity in the game, Magic. He can weak hit, which is a drawback that you have to consider. He defaults to his A3. His A1 is his AoE, which hits really hard, but A2 and A3 are his preference. There's a whole lot of reasons why he's still not overpowered, but together they are indeed a power couple. Still have one problem though. And that problem is Madame Saris, because she has an ability that can buff strip and debuff at the same time. And yet, a Void Legendary has that 50% chance of granting an extra turn. And when you consider how important it is to be able to run both of these abilities, if you have it, I am sacrificing. You look at my team, I have Candrafon, I have Rhodos, I have Ethos, well, there you are. I have champions that can nuke. I have a couple, So why would I use Cupidus? Well, my purpose of using Cupidus, why I would use Cupidus, the answer is right here. But I'm not going to change my arena up and sacrifice Venus, who is amazing in every other area of the game, just top 3, top 1. Screw it. I'm going to say it right now. Best champion in the game. Still, Sify, you hear me? Still, best champion in the game. Her ability, and I use her in every single dungeon, her abilities synergize so well that I would be sacrificing to bring her into the arena where I would probably specialize. I'd run her very high accuracy, very high speed, probably a little more fragile. Or if I had that just amazing shield set gear, I could run her a shield set with high accuracy. There's things I could do with her. But to bring Cupidus in so that I could get that buff strip, I am absolutely sacrificing a ton of damage and running the risk of weak hitting. Whether I'm running a speed comp like I showed in my first set, or whether we're trying to do a second go second comp, or you want to call it a slow comp, whatever you want to call it, I need to know that when it's their turn, they get the job done. And my problem is right now, it's not the case. I'm telling you right now, and I know it's crazy to say Venus needs a buff, but for this to be a top tier synergy, this needs to be a 100% chance of granting an extra turn. She needs to be able to strip and debuff at the same time. The fact that you're sacrificing that much damage to bring Cupidus in over the better nuking champions means that you should be the sacrifice should be worth it. And right now, I'll tell you right now, even if I use Venus in the arena, I wouldn't bring in Cupidus. And that's the difference. Right? And because of that, I don't really use Venus because I have Madame Saris. I have Thalia. I have champions that I can use at my disposal. A lot of people have Trunda and just forego even trying to debuff and strip. So why not give us the abilities? Why not give us something that would really work? She's got great speed. She's got a great kit, but that pure partner outside of PvE content, not really there, and it should be. So those are my thoughts. What are yours? Do you think I'm crazy for actually saying that Venus might need a buff? I don't know. I just think that pure partner needs that kick of 100%, and then that synergy would be amazing with Cupidus. As always, I thank you for joining the channel. I appreciate you joining me here today. I hope you liked that little beginning intro, which I don't know what it was inspired. I was bored. I saw at work a Halloween wig. I thought I'm going to buy it and do this, and if it flops, it flops. But I had fun doing it. Other than that, thank you. Please stay safe. Practice social distancing, be kind to one another, and we'll see you in the next video.